I'm sorry, but in 2026, you think people are working for free? You think people are going to do extra work because it's fun? Bills got to get paid. Things are not getting cheaper. Life is not getting cheaper. Everything is more expensive. Everything is harder. And you think that they're going to want to do more work, put in more hours for less money? And I think because there's this like stigma or this thing where it's like people are afraid to lose their job or people need a job, and this like fear factor that a lot of companies like to use to their advantage, which is somewhat true. A lot of people are scared to lose their job. They don't want to be laid off, depending on what field you're in, depending on what market you're in. Like, of course, people are scared, but they are not dumb. Just because you're scared doesn't mean you're dumb, doesn't mean you want to be taken advantage of. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people will go out there and search for another job because they're not going to sit there and be taken advantage of. They don't care if they've been with that company for 5, 10, 15 years. You know, if they're feeling like, okay, now the company's using this fear factor to take advantage of the employees and give them more work and give them more stress, they're gonna leave. They're like, there is no such thing as loyalty in the workplace, whether it's with the company being loyal to the employee or the employee being loyal to the company. There is no such thing. We've seen this already. We see this when it comes to layoffs. They lay off people that have been there for years, actually was a good employee, but guess what? The person was probably getting paid too much and you have somebody else doing it for less money. You know what I mean? Like, they constantly show you that there is no loyalty in the workplace, but yet they think that they can sit there and use this like fear factor in a way that's just so manipulative. And I'm not saying all companies do this. I'm not saying this is all around, but I've seen so many companies do this, and they think that people won't leave. No, you're going to lose some of your best people because you're playing a game and you think that the employees won't leave.
Being understaffed is not a valid excuse to put an employee in a function that they were not hired to do nor trained to do. You keep moving employees around and requesting that they do a job that they weren't trained to do properly, and then you complain when they don't do the job properly. For me, the worst part is that there's never a discussion about a pay differential for taking on a bigger workload. It's just expecting them to roll with the punches. So now, how about we hire somebody new and train them properly to fulfill the role that you need to be fulfilled, or you pay the employees that you're already overloading with work a little bit more? Because I feel that it's your job as a manager to make sure that, number one, the workload is evenly distributed, and number two, to make sure that your employees are properly compensated for the workload that they currently have. And I don't think it's unfair for an employee to say, okay, you expect me to do more, I expect you to pay me more. My time is not a charity. There is another option where you, the manager, takes on the role that needs to be filled until a new hire comes along, but a lot of y'all don't like doing that. If you don't listen to your employees' needs and concerns, don't be surprised when they start doing the bare minimum to hang on to that job.
Did you ever just stop and think that maybe you don't hate your job and you're just burned the fuck out? I mean, people have been burned out for so long at this point. I don't even know if any of us know who the fuck we are anymore. Honestly. I mean, these jobs just strip away your identity. You know, you go in every day, and after a while, you're just this soulless, lifeless shell of a person showing up to some mediocre bullshit job you can't fucking stand just to make a paycheck that barely gets you by until the next week.
This happened to me while working night shift. I worked 7 days straight. No real rest, just pushing. And I was overworking because bills don't wait. And that day, my body finally said, enough. That day, I felt something was wrong, not tired. Just stressed, wrong. My chest, my breath, my body felt unfamiliar. So I saw a woman passing nearby. I called her and told her to help me call 911. Maybe she didn't hear what I was saying. She didn't answer me. I was the only one at home that morning. There was no help. So I had to drag myself to my car. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing as well. So I had to call 911 myself. Ambulance came and they rushed me to the hospital. God saved my life and the emergency team saved my life as well. So what baffles me a lot was that I wasn't reckless. I wasn't partying. I was just working too much. Please hear this from me. Also is not strength if it kills you. Your body keeps the receipt. This awareness, not medical advice. If your body whispers, please don't wait until it screams. And apart from that, if you are the kind of person that always love working too much, like me, you better take it easy so that you won't destroy your life.
Employers squeezing their employees dry in 2026. Unfortunately, I have a lot of experience in this category. as do many others. Luckily for now, I haven't worked my last job in a few years. I worked in a hospital setting, and it was common to see tons of workers, especially the underpaid workers, doing double duty. Nowadays, everywhere out there, no matter what company you're in, whether you're in tech, whether you're working for a hospital, a service worker, employers are laying off workers to cut costs and overworking their current staff to get by. And a lot of workers are frankly just tired of it. So in today's video, we're going to get a deep look at the working class, the ones who are out there putting their bodies on the line, the ones who are working their asses off, and we're going to see what their experience has been like at the workplace. Let's get into it.
A grocery store, hardware store, or fast food place offering you $21 sounds great until you realize that they can work you to the bone without paying you like full-time hours and giving you full-time benefits. Like they can work you for like 7 to like 13 days in a row simply because of like the way that they manipulate the hours and the days that you work. Like it happens to my homies, it happened to my little sister, and it's evil as fuck, bro. Like I don't understand how you can like finesse the system in a way to like overwork your workers, bro. And it doesn't really make sense because all you're gonna do is make them burn out eventually.
21 an hour was something I never saw in my 20s. I never had a job where I got paid more than 20 an hour. The most I got was around 19 or so an hour. I was working second shift, which is a busier shift, doing security. And now 13 days is crazy, but you have to ask your employers, do you get overtime? Even though it's a lot, you'd be surprised how many people in today's economy would take that kind of a job. 21 an hour with overtime. Now, I don't think he said whether it was overtime or not. If it was straight paid, that sucks. Yeah. You need to have a proper work-life balance. Working 13 days in a row is not proper work-life balance. That's working essentially 2 weeks straight. So even with overtime, it's still a lot. But I'm just saying, if they do give you overtime, you'd be surprised how many people would actually jump on that in today's economy.
But like since workers aren't people to these corporations and these managers that are bootlickers and don't really care about the people that are under them, it just happens. These companies will make you work like 39 hours just below the 40 full-time limit just so that they don't have to give you like the full benefits. That shit is insane to me. That's not a system that should be allowed to work. The whole, that kind of a system should be burned down. And then on top of all of that, you making $21 an hour, depending on the city or state that you live in, is not going to cover your expenses, bro. Especially if they're not giving you full-time benefits or full-time pay.
That's why in interviews, I'm always like, one of the first questions I ask is, do I get benefits? What are they? Is it health insurance? Is it dental? Is it, overtime past 40 hours? Do I get vacation? Do I get sick days? If you don't ask those questions in an interview, they'll just dance all over and say, oh, yeah, you get benefits. But there's like, discrepancies in what they say and what actually happens. He's right. A lot of jobs will keep you just shy of 40 hours and say, we don't have to pay benefits. Now, at the hospital I worked at, they had to honor it. Everyone was pretty much treated the same way. Usually, not everyone. If you wanted benefits, you had to work as a part-time worker, you had to work over 20. And if you wanted full-time benefits, which were better, obviously 40. There was no way around it. It's either you work a certain amount of hours or you didn't. But some jobs out there that are not in these public figures like hospitals and, maybe colleges or jobs that, police departments, firefighters, nurses, the jobs where they can kind of get by on policies, that's where you got to be a little bit more careful in the workplace and what benefits they provide. So yeah, he's definitely not alone there, and yeah, it sucks. And that's just what they're doing. They're cutting corners and they're trying to fool people into getting jobs that just, frankly, aren't giving them enough for today's society.
Don't be that kind of employee that goes above and beyond, because the minute they see that you can go above and beyond, that's the standard that they set for you. They will expect that of you every single time. Even if the fucking building is on fire, they will still expect you to run in there and save pretty much everyone. So don't be the good employee. Don't be that above and beyond employee. I've learned the hard way.
Yes, I've also experienced that. Every job I worked at, I just took pride in my work. So I tried to excel. I just tried to give my all, whether it was for trying to get a promotion, which didn't happen. I did get staff lead once, I think, in college at a movie theater. But that job was paying you like peanuts and you're getting a 10-cent raise. But the hospital, I was pretty good at what I did and I took pride in it. And it got to a point where they did give me more work. I had to train like multiple people at once. Usually you don't train people unless they trust you, especially more than one. I would do the job where I'm walking around the hospital, which is the one where you're answering calls like fight calls, emergency calls. If it happens before the cops are called, obviously, usually they come if it's like really bad, but most of the time we handle it or did handle it when I was there. And I would be training like 3-4 people at once. And I mean, it was a lot of work, but my bosses also looked out for me. They gave me a lot more leeway in situations. I had a lot more discretion. They wouldn't question me as much if I did something because they knew I was using good judgment in most situations. And when it was not chaotic and we were able to back off, they were okay with me just laying back and working on my business, which I was doing. I was working on this YouTube channel, not this one, but the other channel, while I was working on during downtime. And they didn't care because when time came to work, I was working. When the time came to relax, I was able to relax. But if you did not work hard and you were not a good worker, they were more on you. You got micromanaged more, and you had a harder time having to adjust to the shift. So it was a trade-off. I was fine with it. But in her situation, though, she's right. I kind of don't like the mentality of just giving the minimum because you get micromanaged more that way. But at the same time, I understand her point of view. A lot of people don't have the kind of situation I have when I worked where they kind of lay off you. They kind of treat you like a number. They just put you in a box, say, hey, go do this, go do that. And then obviously when you have that kind of a manager behind you, you don't feel too confident in wanting to do your job to a very high level. So I get it.
Do what you're paid for and then go home because they don't care about you. Corporate companies do not care about you. All they care about is getting their money, and that's it. Literally, that's it. You don't matter to them the way you think that you matter to them. They just don't.
Yeah, if you were to get sick and go to the hospital tomorrow, they would just replace you next week. They don't care. They really don't care. I remember at the hospital, I only got hurt once. I sprained my wrist. I was holding a patient down on a bed, and I was looking behind me to see if nurses were coming in with medication because they typically give medication to patients that are freaking out. And when I did that, the guy did this. He got up like real quick, and I had to push him down. But because he got up and I wasn't really looking, my wrist cocked back, and I was out of work for 2 months. And during that whole time of recuperating my wrist, I was getting harassed by the big boss. Back then, he's like, can you come to work? He's like, what's the matter? He's like, oh, you're not full duty, so we're going to have to put you on disability. You're going to have to do this. So long story short, I ended up not getting paid for a while. And then the days I did get paid, I had to use up all my vacation time and sick time. And I'm like, vacation time? I got hurt while working. Why the hell is this considered a vacation? But I was at the bottom of the totem pole. They didn't care about us, just a number, like she said. And even though I was hurt in the administration of my duties, they didn't care. So essentially, I went on vacation when I hurt my wrist. It was horrible. So I had to re-rack my vacation time and sick time and accrue it again.
Johnson, I'm going to need you to work late tonight. That's fine. I could use a little extra money. Extra money? Yeah, well, my contract says I work 9 to 5, so I assume I'll be being paid overtime if I work over my allotted time. Johnson, look, this company is in trouble, so we're going to need you to go above and beyond, and we're going to need you to do it for free. I'm actually not available tonight, but you just said you could work overtime. Well, that was before I found out how poorly the company was doing.
You have to ask your job, is it a salary or hourly based job? The ones who get salaries or work 9 to 5, they go through this BS on a daily basis. My job, we got asked to stay for overtime a lot. I was working 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. numerous times. I can't tell you how many times I get home. It's like 4 in the morning and I'm just dead tired. But we always got paid for overtime. Always. And for a lot of the security guards there, we actually didn't mind because we got, the extra money was good. Considering we're getting 17, 18 bucks an hour, it added more money in our pockets and gave us more confidence to pay bills. Obviously, that's still not a living wage, but it was enough to get by at the time. right? So, but in this case, it's very possible you're working past 40 because you're a salary employee, and bosses can unfortunately do this, and they can just fire you for no reason if you refuse. So, yeah, you have to really ask your job, is this salary or is this hourly? And then find the details within that. Can they keep you longer? Some will say until your job's complete for the day, you got to work. And some will say no, once, 5 o'clock hits, you punch out and leave. So it really depends. And this is something you have to ask. Unfortunately, even in today's economy where jobs are scarce, because they will try to scam you. That's what that's pretty much is, a scam. Hey, work for free. Nah, not how it works.
Now I'm going to spend tonight looking for new jobs. This is not how you get ahead in your career, Johnson. Well, I disagree. I think applying to work at a company where they make enough money to pay their employees for the work they do is a great way to get ahead in my career.
It's funny? It's actually true. I always kept my resume on hand in case stuff like this happened. I had jobs in the past where if I saw that there was no long-term potential or there was too much micromanagement or I felt like I was being babysat or something, I never wanted to be in a position where I felt like the boss had me by the balls, where I just couldn't do anything and he had all the power. Options are the best kind of power you can have in anything, especially in a job market. When you have options and you have people willing to pay you money that will match or pay you more than your current job, employers are going to want to keep you now because now all of a sudden you're an asset to someone else. So this is where you bring back the power to you. You apply to jobs, or at the very least, you keep your resume on hand. You never know what you might find. You might find a better opportunity somewhere else. And the minute you try to leave is when they try to keep you. This happened to me a few times where they tried to give me supervisory roles in previous jobs, and I just left. So you'd be surprised. But at the same time, this is what helps give power back to the employees. Because let's be honest here, employers will do whatever they can within reason. So you have to be very aware of what's going on.
Hey, so let's talk about the fact that if your manager could, they would absolutely abuse you. And the only thing that's stopping them from doing that is workers' rights and the other legal obligations. A while back, I had a manager who really just did not care about their job. But he took great pride in punishing his own associates. And how I knew this was that every meeting that we had, he would absolutely brag about the fact that he would just totally punish our associates for very small things.
That brings me back to my previous job. We had a bunch of security guards who just wouldn't do their job well. And anytime someone messed up on the shift, my supervisor would take it out on the entire shift. So normally for an 8-hour shift, you're supposed to get an hour lunch, right? He would say, okay, 30 minutes. And that would happen for a period of weeks or sometimes months. So it's like one person messes up because he hates his job. Now we all got to suffer. And it got to the point where I'm like, listen, we're supposed to get an hour lunch. Like it's in our contract for this position, for this hospital. Everyone else does, including positions that get paid less than us. There should be no 30-minute break. It should be an hour. But a lot of people were like, it's not worth it. And for me, I was like, you know what? If I start making a big issue out of it, I'm going to put a target in my back. Not worth it. And a lot of us kind of just bite the bullet and we just took a 30-minute break. But that was something they did. And again, this is what happens in job markets. Like you said, they would punish you for the smallest of things. If someone got caught on their phone on my shift in the past, the whole shift would suffer. The whole shift would suffer. And it's like, why should I have to suffer when someone else doesn't give a shit about their job? We're not playing basketball here. We're not a football team. Yeah, we're a team, but we're also individual people trying to work for a living. Some of us work a lot. We want a longer break. But that's just how it was, though.
As his supervisor, I remember one time I had an associate come up to me and tell me that his father had passed and he was going to go to the funeral the very next day. And it was, that next day was going to be tomorrow. So on that day, I let whatever manager was on duty know that he was going to take the day off, and that's why he was taking PTO the next day. The next day comes, and I see associate working at the desk, and I was like, hey, man, why are you still here? I thought you took PTO. And he said, yeah, well, that manager had denied me PTO, and so I don't want to lose this job, so I came in. When I tell you,
that happened to our job too. If you were a bad worker and you put in for vacation, you were not getting that. Everything had to get approved, and you'd be surprised how many people got rejected. Fortunately for me, never got rejected there, but a lot of people did. And that's where your work performance mattered a lot.
you that I ran up to this guy and I stepped up to him and I was like, hey, did you realize that associate's father has passed away and he is now missing his father's funeral? I still have a mental image of his scared little face when I stepped to him, but I know that he was scared because I was really mad at him and not because one of his own associates' father had passed away and he is now actively missing his funeral. Because I know his emotional capacity cannot process that.
If that was me in my situation, God forbid, I would have just not even cared. The job's not that important. Family's more important in that case. We had people, they would classify that as a personal day though, because that's like an emergency. Family emergency is what they call it. So yeah, that's entirely different. That shouldn't even require permission, but you'd be surprised. I mean, look at this guy's experience. Crappy boss, man. They just don't give a shit about you.
So yeah, if you have extra PTO and you're thinking, maybe I should just save it, or maybe I should come in and help out a little bit and do all X, Y, and Z, go ahead and take an extra 15 minutes on your break and go ahead and take the extra PTO because they will never give that back to you.
He's right. And I use every single sick day and vacation day before I left my previous job. Sick days to me were unused vacation days. I used them. If you didn't use it, you lose it. That's how it was. And I used every single one. Every single month, I would pick a day that was different, didn't make a pattern, and I would just take a day off. And preferably, I would try to do a weekend where I had a weekend off. And some of the workers are catching on, but at the same time, the bosses didn't care so much for me because, again, when I was there, I was a great worker. So they knew that it was more important to have me there happy than to have me there upset because they're trying to come at me for some stupid BS. But again, this mattered a lot on how good of an employee you were. If you were a crappy employee and you tried putting off on a Friday and you got Saturday and Sunday off, guess who's getting denied? So I had it good, but I also had it, the stressing part for me with my previous job was having to handle, coworkers who would just not give a shit about the job and they would just bring the morale of the shift down and the managers would hate it. But when I was there, it was obviously a pretty good experience for me. In that respect, the job was still crappy. You had to fight patients and mentally ill people and constantly get spit at and, verbal abuse. And obviously I don't care. I'm on YouTube, right? YouTube, you get tons of hate comments. My other channel, you always get hate comments when you get big on YouTube. Me, I'm just immune to everything. I've been through everything. This is how it is at most jobs. You'd be surprised how many jobs go through trauma. Especially when it comes to the workplace environment.
I'm not gonna lie, if I clock into work after being super exhausted and my shift just starts, and the first person I'm seeing is my coworker's hot breath to the right of me, talking about, thank God you here, bro. I couldn't wait for you to get here, man. I'm immediately clocking out. We're not doing none of that.
That happened to me many times, and unfortunately, I couldn't clock out.
Gonna lie, I'm not doing that with you. The worst thing is when you finna do a morning shift and you opening up and you walk into your job and this customer's already there. How you wake up and get ready before me? We open at 5 a.m. You don't got shit else to do with your life. Next thing you know, your manager trying to give you an unskippable cutscene about something you don't even care about, but you listening because at the end of the day, this your manager. You could literally start your shift and after 2 minutes, somebody will come to you and be like, hey, if that package worker came earlier? How am I supposed to know if the package worker came earlier? I wasn't even here. Luckily for me, I was never going for that. But my little homie Jamal, he was the store runner. The managers had him doing everything. Shit that wasn't even on his job description. At one point, I was starting to feel bad because my manager was making Jamal do things he wasn't supposed to do. He was like, Jamal, after you get done cleaning the gutters, you gotta clean my tires off a little bit.
Damn, poor Jamal, man. Poor Jamal. Oh, look here. This is something that relates to me. Why your companies keep their best employees overworked? They want to cut costs and milk you for all they can. And if you're a good worker who doesn't make a lot of money, it makes their job easier and they don't have to pay you as much. Let's see what he says.
Ever notice how the hardest working employees end up with more work? What if I was to tell you that companies do this on purpose? And as someone that worked in corporate America for 10 years, here are 4 things you need to know. The first reason is you proving that you can handle it. You met every deadline. You even helped your coworkers. You worked well under pressure. And instead of getting rewarded with more opportunities and compensation, some of these companies would just give you more work.
Yep.
Secondly, your reliability has now become your punishment. You show up on time. You fix all the problems. These companies know they could depend upon you. And sometimes that dependability is the same thing that's working against you. Third, replacing you is almost riskier than actually overworking you. When you're producing results, when you're getting things done, sometimes these companies feel like it's unnecessary to add someone else because they feel like it may mess up your process.
That's what happened to me. But again, I didn't have it that bad though, too, though. Even though I had more workload and I wasn't paid more for it, again, they didn't micromanage me as much, and I had more discretion, had more freedom. If I was working on my business in my off time, they didn't like care too much. Again, when it was time to turn the switch on, I was there. But when it's time to turn it off and relax, they let me be. So it was a good trade-off. Again, I actually had a pretty good experience in that respect for my job in the past. So again, that's why it's important. I know a lot of people here are saying, don't give it your all in your job because they'll give you too much and overwork you. And that's true for most jobs, but it really depends on what job you're doing and how your boss is too. Not every boss is bad. Some will actually look out for you and be more lenient with you or give you some other benefits, So not every job is like that, but a lot of jobs are. So you just got to be on the lookout for what kind of job you're working and how your boss relationship is with there's other employees.
Does anyone else find it weird how normalized it's been to work yourself to death in America? Like, you'll find all these Instagram posts talking about people not working hard enough, and the comments section will just be loaded with people saying they work 60, 70, 80, 90-hour weeks. I'm not saying you shouldn't even be proud of that. That's a lot, and even keeping up with that for a month or two is crazy, but it's more about what it tells about our country. Nobody should have to work that much. Just to survive, you shouldn't have to be working more than double what most people were working only 20 years ago. You may even say that these people then just need to get a better paying job, and that's not even the case sometimes. In certain states like California or New York, you literally just can't afford to live even making $35 an hour.
You can see a lot of people have similar experiences when it comes to working a job where they prioritize certain workers, but that also means overworking them for a low wage. I shared you my experience. I'm just curious though, how has your experience been in the workforce? Have you experienced a similar situation to me or these other people in the video, or has your experience been different? Let me know down below in the comments. That being said, if you enjoy this kind of video, please leave a like, and I'll see you next time.